Hi everybody, it's Kay here, and today I have a really important topic. I guess I say that lots, don't I? But I want to talk about that your ex-partner is not your child's ex. And I think we forget that. We go on and we get a new relationship and we get a new life, but your child is still actually between the two lives. And their parent, their father or their mother, is still their parent, and they are still having a relationship with that person. They're still having a life with that person, and they're still being influenced by that person. Now, we would like to pretend that person doesn't exist, and we probably do a fairly good job of it. I know that I certainly, I've been divorced now for 30 years, so it's a long time. And I've moved on. I moved on in many, many different ways. I've had more children, I've moved, I've, remarried, all sorts of things. And it was recently brought home to me, last weekend, my children threw a party for their dad. And yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, it really hit home to me that he's their dad. They love him. They've still got a part of their life. So my oldest daughter put on a movie for him, picked up all the photos and stuff like that. And there was photos I'd never seen of my children. Now, my children, of course, are adults, and so they've travelled with him. They've met him in overseas countries. They've been to other parties with him. They've had a whole life with him that I didn't really hear much about. And so seeing this life in photos was a bit of a shock. So it's a movie of his life. You can imagine they did the early years. He actually had been married and had children before, and I don't think there was any photos of that bit. But then our marriage, and so it showed our wedding day with his 4 children. So that's a photo I actually would like to get to show you. But and then, our life, our children getting born, and then, of course, the separation, and the photos continued. And I don't know why I hadn't really thought about that, but the photos continued with the children involved. So sometimes with his older kids, but mostly with our kids that we shared. And they are still very much a part of his life, and he is still very much a part of their life. And of course, that was the goal when we first separated, was that the children had 2 parents who loved them. They just didn't live in the same house. And that was my goal. I don't know if I realised how well I had achieved it. And they had this whole life with him. So I don't particularly like him. I don't respect him. But I no longer hate him because water under the bridge, right? It's a long time ago. But I really don't have a lot to do with him, even though he now lives about half an hour from where I live. And our interaction is basically around the children, or more so these days around the grandchildren. So it'll be things like picking kids up from his house, or picking up a car seat from his house to pick up kids from the airport, that sort of stuff. And but I think it's very important when you separate to realise that, yes, you've separated, you don't like that person, you're happy to have them out of your life, happy to have them out of your house, but they are still your child's parent. And they will be your child's parent forever. For the rest of their life and beyond, they are your child's parent. And they love them as a parent. They like them. They like spending time with them. They want to be with them. And that can even be if they're not all that good, right? As I said, I don't particularly respect my ex-husband, but my children love him. And this is, I talk about them. They're my children. Like, that's how I saw them. They lived with me for a lot of the time. In their 20s, they came back and lived with me. So they, obviously went off, and then they came back, did that 20 things where they travelled and came back home. And generally they came back to my house. But in the meantime, they were having this relationship with their father. So just because you've divorced them, just because they're your ex, remember the children still have that person in their life. And We need to respect that person and respect that link, that bond between the child and the parent, because it is a bond for life. And how that child and that parent interrelate, how they function together, is actually their relationship. It's not really part of your relationship. If your children are very young, obviously you've got a lot to do with it. My children were 7 to 14 when I got divorced, so youngish, but it wasn't very long before they were negotiating with him about when to pick them up and when to drop them off and when to go. I've actually made a, a sheet of recommendations of how to deal with an ex. And I highly recommend you get that, because I think there's a lot of value in recognising that you're going to have to learn how to deal with this ex and learn when to keep your mouth shut, when something is really important. And, as the book says, don't sweat the small stuff, and most of it's small stuff. And that's pretty well how it is with ex-partners. There's very little very little say that you've got, very little things that you can change. And you can't change an ex-partner. I mean, you probably tried to change them when you were married to them, and that didn't work. And you certainly can't change them now that you've divorced. You've got to accept how they are. You have to accept the relationship with your children. So all of those are in this cheat sheet, I guess. So look out for that, and let me know how your issues with your ex-partner, and how you see this, that you've divorced them but your children haven't. All right, something to think upon, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.